Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Uh, Rise and shine. It's time to learn and to grow. I bless God for you. Thank you for being on here today. I hope that you all are ready to learn, ready to grow, and ready to move into some things here. Um, I'm preparing some things for you, and I hope you're ready to take notes. Hope you're ready to grow into some things, some new stuff that's happening. Being able to walk into some things and with a greater understanding. So let me know if you're on here, and even in the content, or rather in the comments, let me know you're here, and just send a comment and say, "Hey, good morning." And good morning from here, and so we can go ahead and start and get you guys going on your day. So I'm excited about this, about teaching this. I think it's necessary to do so and to help you. So this time around, I made sure I provided some more um, help for you to be able to look at what we're doing, so you can take notes and so you can follow through and go from there. So let's get ready to start, and I'm going to move some things around so you'll see me moving around so you can see the screens and go from there. So let's go. So I want to teach on something today, especially I think it's so important. And one of the reasons that I thought it was so important to teach on this in particular is because something happened in our area here in Savannah where this major plant is closing in about a month or so, maybe a little longer than that. And they're closing, and it's going to affect about 1,200 jobs. This place has been they've been in place for about um, 88 years. And so this is going to impact a lot of people's homes and the stability of their homes. And so I thought it would be good to have provide some understanding of what happens when different shifts and pivots and disruptions come that really can shake a person to the core if they don't know how to navigate, how to deal with those things, how to prepare, how to move forward. So this is what these are some of the things we're going to talk about. So just give me a sec to just move this around a little bit so you can see and see what we're talking about here. And I'm looking to see in my comments who is here. If you are, just give us a little shout out and give us a little holler that you're here. And I thank you for being on here this morning. And so just give me a moment to move this around for you, and then we'll jump on this really quickly. There we go. Good. Well, let's do this. Let's start here. And like I said, if you got any questions, please let me know. I want to give you a little bit of an intro, and then we'll go from there. Um, so when we're talking about the first thing we're going to talk about here this morning is, let's do this. There you go. See, I can move just like that. So we want to talk about resilience, recovery, and anchoring for change. Resilience, recovery, and anchoring for change. And so you really want to be able to, I want you to take notes on this because I got an hour, but I'm going to try to give you everything I can in this extensive teaching. So here's how we're going to start. I want to read this to you. Failure, mistakes, errors, missteps, and adversities are all a part of the process of leadership in life. So, because of this, resilience and recovery must also be a part of the process. The challenge for many is that we prepare to succeed, sometimes even prepare to fail, but we rarely prepare to recover. So, yet, if you don't plan to recover, you will quit as soon as you encounter your first disruption. So this is important to understand that as much as you plan to succeed, as much as you plan to overcome and do great things, sometimes even people have a plan in place for when things don't go in a certain way. But do you have a plan in place for you to recover, for you to see what's happened, make the shifts, make the pivots, deal with the disruptions, and then move into your recovery plan? Anybody, most state agencies or the government or whatever the case may be, anytime a disaster hits, there's a recovery team. There is a search and rescue team. There's money allocated and staff in place and training in place because they know by nature things are going to happen. Something's going to happen. So we must prepare to not only deal with it, but we also must prepare to recover from it and and rebuild out of it. And so when you're dealing with sudden shocks and things when this plant is closing, a lot of people are shaken to the core, rightfully so. So my goal here today is to not only look at just the disruption, but also to help the mind shift into a place of recovery, because you can recover and you will recover if you allow yourself to begin to move in that place, in that kind of way of thinking. So we're going to dig into that a little more as we go forth. So resilience is the mindset that says, I may stumble, but I will not stay down. I may fall short, but I will rise again. So in corporate life, what this looks like is having a recovery strategy when the market shifts. So in ministry, this looks like being prepared to shift when the spirit when one season ends and another begins. So in either context, resilience is not just an action, it's a determination. It's a determination. You have to be determined and be willing to get up again and do what you have to do and say, I'm going to recover. I'm definitely going to recover and I'm determined to recover. So what matters most is not the adversity itself, but it's our response to adversity. It's our response to adversity, because adversity can destroy faith, momentum, or vision if you respond incorrectly. But if you respond with wisdom, it can accelerate growth and maturity. So many leaders were taught to respond to adversity with outbursts of anger, frustration, or disappointment. I've been there. I'm sure some of you all have been there of how to deal with adversity. And many times, adversity exposes where our emotional infrastructure and resilience and agility is and where it is not. It is not so much a fault, it is more of kind of a discovery that I thought I was ready for that. I thought I was built for that, but I'm not necessarily built for that. And I have to be developed into that. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means sometimes adversity comes to show you how much capacity you actually have in real time. Adversity comes to show you what you actually have in your capacity in real time. This is who you are, and this is where you are at this moment. And that doesn't mean you have failed the moment, but it helps you to see this is my real capacity. This is really who I am when I'm dealing with storms. But the goal here of this class this morning is to say that may be the moment, but that won't necessarily be the mindset, because the moment will expose something, but with the right mindset and the right response, you can overcome your first response and move into a recovery action, a recovery mindset. So it does not mean you're weak when you're hit with something. And even if it moves you to tears, to anger, to frustration, the problem remains if you stay there and you have no other option. The goal here today is to give you the option after the hit, now begin to get up and have a recovery mindset, because the adversity is there to come. It comes to really show you the reality of how you move and how you think. And because a lot of times we want things to be a certain way and we want it to be just perfect, but really adversity comes to shatter um very uh what's the word I'm looking for, shatter very shallow type feelings, shallow structure of things. It may look deep, but when it got hit, it was pretty shallow. You want that. I want that. I needed that growing as a leader to show me that I was shallow in a lot of my depth of what I thought I was and what I thought I could handle and who I thought I could be. Adversity comes to really drudge out more of who you really are so you can begin to really grow in that person and really in that leader, that husband, that wife, that coworker, that supervisor, that CEO that is constantly facing adverse situations. So, what matters, um, but intentional leaders learn to respond with understanding, control, and clarity. So, when you decide to pivot, you are also making the decision to recover. Pivoting is another form of resilience. It is the ability to say, I still believe in this vision. I still value what God placed in me, but I may have to change my approach in order to move forward. Let me read that again. It says, I still believe in this. I still believe in my dream. I still believe in my vision. I still believe in my abilities and my capabilities. I still believe I can do this. I still value the investment God has made in me, but I may have to change my approach in order to move forward. So, pivoting is resilience in action. It's resilience in action. Let me move over here a little bit for you. So, I want you to be able to write that down that you may have to change your approach in how you move forward. You may have to do that. It's okay to do that. Someone type that in the comments and say, I may need to move forward. I may need to change my approach in order for me to move forward. I may need to change my approach in order to move forward. That's not failure, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. That's not failure, that's wisdom. I want you to hear me when I say that. That's not failure, that's wisdom. We got it? We got it? Cool. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So that's why every intentional leader must build a recovery mindset. It must rebuild a recovery mindset. Just as we, um, just as we, rather, here we go. Sorry about, okay, there we go. Just as we have car insurance, in case of an accident, leaders need a recovery plan in case of setbacks. With resilience, we are no longer afraid of failure because we have already determined, we have already determined that no matter what happens, we will get back up again. No matter what happens, we will get back up again. You're wired to get up. You are wired to get up. So here's some things as I continue to, and I'm going to move myself again. Resilience and recovery are not just behaviors; they are a mindset. Resilience and recovery are not just behaviors; they are a mindset. The world, in the corporate world, we call it grit. We call it grit. It's that grit, that resilient mindset, that determination that you may not be the best of the class, but you will definitely be the head of the class. There's some people. I can't remember I think her name is Angela Duckworth. She wrote this book a few years ago. Named Grit. It's a great book. I believe her name is Angela Duckworth, and she talks about what set certain people apart. And they came to realize that there are some people that, even though they made straight A's and they succeeded all their lives, what separated them from some of the other candidates, other students, especially at the West Point Academy, at the West Point Academy, they had this. They got the best of the brightest, if you know what that is, the military academy up in New York. Some of the best and the brightest attend these schools, and they're handpicked out of all the 50 states, all the states, and these are usually valedictorians. These are captains of football teams, straight A students. These are amazing people. Well, what happens, they got to certain tests. certain things they call the gauntlet and things they had to go through and deal with to physically get over and to pass this test. And they found out that many of them could not pass the test or could not overcome also, but compared to those who did not have as many achievements as the ones that did. The ones that did not have as many achievements blew the test away. They overcame. The ones who didn't, who had many achievements, did not do as well. Well, they come to determine that the difference between that valedictorian and that person that maybe was in the top 30% of their class or whatever was that the one that had the straight A's always had straight A's, and they never dealt with a B, never dealt with a B plus or a B minus. Everything has been almost on the level of perfection. And because everything has been on the level of perfection, they never understood how to fall, and have to stand themselves back up. They have perfect attendance. They had straight A's. They did this. They excelled here. They were valedictorian, had 4.0, everything on paper, perfect, but in the mind and in the heart, they never really had resilience and knew how to recover. Those that did not have those kind of grades were able to succeed greater in this gauntlet test, this grueling physical test that they had to endure for a certain amount of days in order to graduate. They got over it because they had to adapt. They had to learn how to pivot. They had to learn how to fail, fall, and get back up because that's been a part of their life. They failed somewhere in high school. They failed somewhere and they had to get back up. So they had a mindset of recovery and they went on to succeed while some of the ones that were the straight A students, they dropped out. And so they've seen that across the board in many cases has been the difference that really sets people apart is their ability to recover and their resilience to really move forth and really do something that most people or some people rather were not able to do because they themselves learned long time ago. I need to have a plan in place for recovery. I need to know how to come get over this. I need to know how to work through this. And when you have that in you, you become a different kind of leader who is not upset that there's a mountain in front of them. While we would love to not have a mountain, we would love to just kind of go straight through. We realize that mountains come with leadership as much as valleys do also. So you have to learn how to go down in valleys and come up, and you have to learn how to go up on mountains and come down. And there's sometimes you have to go around, but many times we have to climb it, and sometimes we have to descend, and sometimes we have to learn to ascend in order to get to the other side. So here, when resilience and recovery are not just behaviors, they are a mindset. The world calls it grit. We call it endurance, perseverance, and faith. And it is the foundation of what comes next. The ability to shift, pivot, and embrace disruption. So to navigate through uh, to navigate shifting seasons well, leaders need three things: clarity to see, courage to act, and resilience to endure. Write those down. You need clarity to see, courage to act, and resilience to endure. So here's a transition suggestion. Now that we've laid the foundation of resilience and recovery, let's look at how this plays out when adversity shows up in real life. So watch this. Let's jump in here, um, and as we go from understanding resiliency versus adversity. So in the place of resiliency versus adversity, the less you are aware of your emotions, the more likely you are to respond irrationally. Let me say that again. The less you are aware of your emotions, the more likely you are to respond irrationally. So many of us were taught to meet adversity with anger, frustration, or outbursts, but maturity calls us to respond from a controlled and spirit-led place. So resilience begins with awareness. Write that down. Resilience begins with awareness. It's about being in the driver's seat rather than letting adversity drive you. Adversity can get in a car, but it can't drive you. It's going to be around, but you can't let it drive you. You have to initially get over you have to not get over, but you do have to process through the shock of what has happened to you. You have to begin to sit and process about this plant closing. And I may not be able to do anything about that. So I must now be aware of, now that this plant is closing and my livelihood and everything is attached to it, I have to now navigate through the hit. I got to now navigate through the hit because it doesn't change my other realities of what I'm dealing with. It doesn't change the bills. It doesn't change that tuition is due. It doesn't change the mortgage. It doesn't change the light bill. It doesn't change food. It doesn't change responsibilities. So I must navigate through the hit, and I must be more aware of my emotions in the hit so I can respond rationally and not irrationally. And that doesn't mean that you don't get upset. It doesn't mean that you don't get hurt. It doesn't even mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means I'm aware of them. And so I must kind of process the hit and then land in a place where I must now, what do I need to do to pivot as this disruption has now happened? What do I need to do now? Because that has happened. That's real. That's real. But also my life over here is real too. And I must continue to live. So as I continue to live, I must now pivot. I must now make a shift. I got to change. I got to embrace the disruption and embrace the adversity without the disruption embracing me, and without the adversity embracing me. I will embrace it. I will control the hug. I won't let adversity control the hug. I will control the hug. I'm going to make sure I navigate through this. So let's see. So resilience begins with awareness. It's about being in the driver's seat rather than letting adversity drive you. Resilience and recovery are not just actions, they are mindsets. As I said, they call it grit. So here's some questions that I want you to think of. And let me give you this scenario. I want you to think of, let me see, that might be on the last one here. Think of a car insurance. Nobody plans to crash their car, but we wisely plan for recovery in case it happens. So, likewise, in leadership and in ministry and in the marketplace, we must build resilience plans. We must build recovery plans. That way, when adversity strikes, we don't collapse, we recover. We don't collapse, we recover. If you notice, when people get hit with floods and things like that, they say, I'm glad to be here. We got our life, we lost it all, but we will rebuild. We will rebuild. That I'm hit, I'm tired. I only have the clothes on my back. Everything I have has been washed away. I'm alive. So we're gonna rebuild. We're gonna be okay. It hurts today, but we're going to rebuild. And what happens, they start focusing on the rebuilding as they deal with the catastrophe of what has happened to them. Because sometimes what happens when we get hit, we simply stay in the hit. It's like having a car accident and in the tow truck, it's like sitting at the same intersection in the wrecked car every day. What happens? You take a hit. We're gonna file a report. You okay? We're gonna take you to get you checked out. The tow truck is gonna come and move your car. We're gonna sweep up the glass and all the broken stuff from the car, and so that this intersection can get back moving again, because that's called life. And then we're gonna get you over to the side. We're gonna still deal with you because out here life keeps moving. This intersection still, the other things still at play. So the recovery plan won't allow you to sit in the accident. It recognizes an accident has happened. It recognizes that there's been a hit, there is trouble. However, we're going to get you checked out. We're going to move the car, we're going to tow it, we're going to sweep up this, and we're going to begin to move you forward into recovery. And because other things around you still have to keep moving, they still got to keep going. So recovery plans won't let you sit in your wreck. It won't let you sit in the accident. It forces you to now move into the recovery phase of life so you can start driving again. And that's one of the reasons people start rebuilding. It's not that they're ignoring it, but that's their way of helping them to process and to be resilient, but also to strengthen their hope and their faith that I'm still here, I'm hurting, and I'm acknowledging that everything around me is a wreck. I'm looking, I'm in shock. However, I got insurance. I'm going to rebuild my home. I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to get healed, or whatever the case is. I'm going to get my health together. You take a deep breath and you face it, even though you still had tears in your eyes. And even though some days it's hard, some days you just sit there and look around because it seems so overwhelming. All of that comes with it. But in the midst of that, there must be a core mindset. I got to recover. I'm going to recover. I'm determined to recover. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to overcome this, and I'm going to build better. So, as one of the greatest ways resilience shows itself is in our ability to pivot when things don't go as planned. So, here's some questions. You've probably seen them. You probably got to you write these down. This is some of your homework. When was the last time you had to recover from a setback? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about your emotions, your mindset? What did you learn about you? Not so much the situation. What did you learn about you? Number two, do you currently have a recovery plan in place personally or organizationally? Within a church or a ministry, that would be called something like a succession plan, just in case the leader uh, steps down, moves, retires, or even transitions from this life to another. There is a recovery plan. Many churches don't have a recovery plan in place, and then they spend many months, if not years, trying to find a leader, and that ministry and that church really spirals because it lacks leadership, it lacks vision, it lacks management, it lacks organization, it lacks direction, culture, community, and it's just people gathering in a building. And then before you know it, the people begin to fade away, the youth stop coming, the ministry dies out. They only talk about what they were in their heyday, and eventually the building is sold, torn down, or turned into a restaurant or condos. As many churches that are closing down, they're turning them into condos, restaurants, event centers, um, um, temples for other religions. Many things, people are moving in as houses, all that kind of stuff, because there was no plan of recovery. Possibly there may be other factors, but um, they didn't put something in place in order for a new day to come for the future. It happens all the time. And number three, how do you typically respond to adversity? With clarity and control, or frustration and reaction? How do you typically respond to adversity? With clarity and control, or frustration and action? Now, watch this. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say something to you, and we're going to move forward into something here that I'm going to hope this will help you. Here's a question. This is not even on here, but who taught you how to respond? I'm going to ask it, who taught you how to respond to adversity? what model of behavior, what behavior rather do you model? What's your first gear when it comes down to trouble? Because either you've been trained, you've been taught, or you have shadowed someone and didn't know you were shadowing it. Someone taught you how to respond, even though you didn't think they were teaching you. They didn't think they were teaching you, but this has been your only access to overcoming. Who taught you that? Who taught you that? I want you to write that's between you and yourself, because I want you to begin to deal with that. I want you to understand what who taught you that. Where did that come from? Because we operate a certain way all the time. So we have to be willing to understand, where did I get that from? And why, even though I'm trying to do this keeps popping up. That's something we can talk about another time. Well, listen, let me move on because we are running out of time just that fast. Listen, let's look at how let's look at how resilience, let's see here. Resilience in different contexts. Look at me trying to be fancy. So listen, here in corporate life, resilience looks like having a recovery strategy when the market shifts. Leaders must anticipate changes and prepare their organizations to adapt quickly when disruptions occur. So in ministry, resilience looks like being prepared to shift with the spirit when one season ends and another begins. Spiritual leaders must discern the times and be willing to move in new direction as God leads. We can't afford to stay in a place because you feel that last place is the safest place, because you're afraid to deal with, and I'll get to this later into the teaching, the transition, the changes and the transition of that change. That's a big deal to a lot of people. And so we look at those things and we have to see, what does that look like? What does that look like in recovery, or rather in the corporate world? Like I said about this plant closing here in Savannah, what does resilience look like now that this is happening? Sometimes we have to first say, this is happening. I can't change it, but I can move into what I now need to do for me. Because then we begin to realize true loyalty. We've been so loyal to the organizations and to the businesses, and we've been so loyal to the higher ups that we forgot to be loyal to ourselves. We forgot to be a little selfish and to work on some things as we go, because things shift and things turn. And we're so loyal, and I get it. But in a moment, through a letter, a text, an email, that part of life comes to an end in a moment. Not a handshake, not a meeting, not a hug, not a we're torn up about this. We're torn up about this. No, it's we're closing. This is it. And we're going to give you a little bit of money to get you through Christmas or whatever. And we're going to move on. And you're left to deal with how you built life off of loyalty to another organization that you realize in blind hindsight, man, they were never really loyal to me. Great place to work for me and those on my level of leadership, but the ones I never saw, the people that I never really connected with that were the power behind this, they weren't loyal to me. So sometimes our loyalty is to the people we work with because we built community together. But you forgot that community is within an infrastructure of something much bigger. And when that thing that's much bigger decides we're moving on, then what happens, the community that you've been loyal to is now disrupted. It's like, oh my God, what happened? So it's we're mad at the higher ups, but those are the folk that you thought you were being loyal to them. You really was being loyal to the people you've met over the years that you all have formed community. Now, the higher ups were paying you, but your loyalty was that you really loved coming to work with these people. And now you all are in a different place. This is sometimes it's okay to have a place you enjoy to work, but you also have to learn how to also allocate loyalty and trust to you. You got to learn how to allocate loyalty and trust to you also so that you can keep developing your life of things you need to do effectively and profitably because things do shift and you are forced to pivot because of this disruption. So you can't turn a blind eye because we're in a different day and things can close in a moment. This company has been around for 88 years and I worked there when I was in college during the summers. So I know the community that exists there is generational people that worked at this paper plant. Grandfathers, fathers, great grandfathers, sons, daughters, grandsons. Many bloodlines came through this. So there's been a loyalty. There's been a loyalty. But then what happened, some were able to live through that loyalty and retire. But now, this present generation, that's not the case. So we have to learn how to, yes, I love where I work, I enjoy what I do, but I also have to allocate loyalty and trust to me, for my dreams and for my purposes and things that I want to do. You have to sometimes be not negatively selfish, but you also have to be proactively of selfish because you still have a life to live. And even after you retire from that job, you still have to have a life to live. So this is the moments you begin to develop what's in your heart, what's in your hand. You begin to develop what's the vision in you. What do you really love doing? I know you have making sure everybody else is good, but have you made sure you are good? It's okay to make sure people are good as long as you're going to hear me say this word a lot, as long as you are allocating time and loyalty and trust and resources to your own development, prosperity, growth, and peace and rest. You deserve that. You should have that. And that's why you got to have a recovery plan in place. So, this new day, let me see where we are. Da-da-da. Now, hopefully this is helping you guys out a lot. Thank you for being on here. This new day, I want to talk about mindset, mind shift, and understanding. This new day would undoubtedly require a mind shift. So, old systems cannot hold new opportunities. Old wineskins cannot contain new wine. The greatest danger is trying to enter a new season with an old way of thinking. A mindset can only begin with revelation, illumination, or understanding has taken place. So shifts cannot truly happen until understanding happens. This is why wisdom and understanding are essential in both leadership and life. So understanding is more than knowledge, it is comprehension, discernment, and good judgment. Without understanding, leaders complain instead of adapting. Without understanding, leaders complain instead of adapting. Without understanding, teams fracture instead of uniting. But with understanding, leaders can discern times and seasons, identify opportunities, and prepare people for change. You have to be able to prepare yourself and the people you lead and serve for change. Understanding produces clarity. Clarity allows you to see beyond confusion and lead with precision, even when others are uncertain. Without clarity, leaders drift. Without clarity, leaders drift, teams drift. With clarity, leaders direct and teams follow. Leaders direct and teams follow. So the enemy of progress is often confusion and lack of understanding. This is why intentional leaders must pursue understanding above all else. You got to pursue understanding. You got to be able to comprehend. You have to be able to discern. You have to be able to gather the problem in. You have to be able, before you can do anything, you got to gather the problem in. You have to um, understand the problem. You can't solve what you don't understand. You can't get insight to what you can't see. So you don't want to worship the problem. I've said this before. You want to be able to proactively begin to solve it. We get it. Here's the problem. We don't want to dance around it. We don't want to create it as an idol. Let's solve this problem. What do we need to do? Gain understanding. What's the problem? What is the real problem? Not from the emotional reactionary place, but what is the factual problem? But you can't solve it until it becomes factual. What is the factual problem? Not the third perspective or whatever. What is it? And then begin to solve it, begin to turn it around, begin to change it. So the enemy of progress is often confusion and lack of understanding. This is why I just read that. Why intentional leaders, rather, must pursue understanding above all else. So watch this. Here's the point I want to make. With it, we gain access to strategy, solutions, and fresh direction. With it, we gain access to strategy, solutions, and fresh direction. Without it, we remain stuck in old cycles while change races past us. We remain stuck in old cycles while change races past us. So once we have clarity and understanding, we engage with the real language of change, which is shift and pivot and disruption. So let me see if I can put this down here for you. You saw that at the bottom. You got that? Yeah. And we've already talked about that. So let me. Now, here are some resilience questions that I can give you. How do you typically handle unexpected adversity? We talked about that. By reacting or by pausing to respond wisely. Number two, what emotions most often get in the way of your resilience? Number three, if you had a stronger recovery strategy, how would it change your confidence when adversity comes? I want you to write those down. Write those down. How do you typically handle adversity? Handle unexpected adversity by reacting or by pausing to respond wisely. What emotions most often get in the way of your resilience? That's a very powerful question that you have to be honest with yourself about. What emotions most often get in the way of your resilience, your recovery? What keeps you from recovering? It can be low self-esteem. It can be some people is laziness. They don't want to recover. They don't want to recover, but they want to cry. They want to moan and groan and complain about it, but they don't want to recover. What emotional state or emotional line of that you have? What is your first line of emotional approach to it that keeps you from recovering? And if you had a stronger recovery strategy, how would it change your confidence when adversity comes? Gotcha. Now, let's see here. There we go. Now, pivot as a form of resilience. Uh, we've talked about this, but I want to. Um, we've already covered this. So, yes, we've already talked about this. So, when you make a decision to actually, no, we didn't. Here we go. I'm sorry. Pivot as a form of resilience. When you make the decision to pivot, you are also making the decision to recover. Pivoting is not quitting. It is a declaration of resilience. It is saying, I still have something I can do with this, but I may have to change my approach. I still have something I can do with this. I may just have to change my approach. I can still, well, it's just, I love baseball. My New York Yankees have been my favorite team since I was a little boy growing up in New York, first part of my childhood. I used to sit up at night and watch them on Channel 11 WPIX and watch them at night and while my mom and them was asleep. And I just dreamt about playing for the Yankees. Well, I played baseball and did pretty good with it, but that life didn't materialize for me. But I still love baseball. So what could I do now? What could I pivot because my body cannot do that, but my heart's still in it? Well, perhaps I need to coach. Perhaps I need to get a team of young kids and begin to develop fundamentals and skills in them. I still got a love for the game. I still enjoy it. Perhaps I need to change and make a pivot because it's still in me. So that I give that as an example because there's some things that are still in you that won't die, but you may have to change your approach now. No, I can't run in the field as much as I would love to, but I can coach now. So my position on the field has changed from center field to the dugout, but I'm still on the field. I'm still engaged in the sport. I will still be engaged in the game. I still can help. I still can impart knowledge and fundamentals and things of that nature. So that's part of what pivoting is. It's not quitting. It's I still can do this. I just may have to change my approach. So to pivot is to believe in what you have, the vision, the call, the gift, and to be willing to adjust your method to protect it. Pivoting is another form of resilience because it refuses to let failure have the final word. That you got to write that down and say, listen, failure will not have the final word. Failure will not have the final word. That's powerful. That's a powerful statement to say that failure will not have the final word. No one plans to fail, but every leader must plan to recover. If I already have a recovery plan in place, then I am not afraid of failure because I've already determined that I will get up again. That's I want you to catch that. That I'm not afraid of failure. You can't be afraid to start again. I know you're in your 50s and in your 60s, you may be in your 70s watching this, but you can't be afraid to start again and pivot and take what you have and begin to administer it in a different way. It's still as good, it still is impactful, it still has a lot of weight. You just got to change how you now do it because you're being forced to. Time will force you to pivot. Disruptions, industry disruptions, life disruptions will force you to pivot. You probably don't find out how amazing you really are until you really have to go through adversity. You didn't find out about that gift until adversity came, until trouble came, until a disruption came. And it forced you to dig down into who you are, the person you put aside because you had a great career, the person that you put all those dreams aside because you had family and they got to take care of business. And you did and you are, but you also should allocate some time to develop something you love to do that also can help even prosper you and prosper your family. I love what I do right now. I'm just blessed by it. And so I'm working to develop more and more of what I can do and offer because I'm developing as the older I get, I realize I really am not one dimensional. I haven't been one dimensional, but I put aside the other dimensions of my being, of my thinking, for the sake of these one or two things. And now I'm at a place I realize I could still do those one or two things while still developing the other dimensions of my being, of my dreams, of my vision, of my mindset, of my abilities. So it's okay to still be responsible, but also learn how to respond to the rest of who you are and to allocate time and resources and focus to those parts. It's okay for you to pivot within your pivot because disruption comes for it all. And I want you to be prepared for it. And so, um, here is something, because I definitely won't be able to get to all of this. I'm not even 1/5 through my notes for this teaching. So, um, but to pivot well, something deeper. Write this down. To pivot well, something deeper must happen inside of us. A shift in our mindset and our understanding. A shift in our mindset and our understanding. I'm going to read that again. But to pivot well, something deeper must happen inside of us, a shift in our mindset and in our understanding. That's something, it has to shift. Something has to happen. Sometimes we simply don't know how to navigate disruption because we're used to very calm lives with minimal movement, and we like it that way, but really that's not really life. And so we try to build on a stability that's not stable, that really doesn't exist. We always have to be mindful and prepared for shifts, for pivots, and for disruptions, because they come with this thing called life. Even in our scripture, it says, in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer. Being of good cheer means that I have a recovery plan. He says, the scripture says, be of good cheer, for I have already overcome the world. Here's your recovery plan so you can be of good cheer. Trials and tribulations are coming. You deal with them, but there's a recovery plan already in place. Be of good cheer. We're able to be of good cheer because we have a spiritual recovery plan that also is a kingdom recovery plan that also brings us into a life recovery plan. But we don't have the good cheer because we're not aware or have never really developed a recovery plan or have really delved into what does that look like. We say it and we quote it, but really that's saying you're going to get hit, you're going to get disrupted, there's going to be pivots, there's going to be shifts, there's going to be disruptions that you have to deal with, but you must be able to be of good cheer because there's a recovery plan for you. And if you allow yourself from an emotional place to navigate through this into this recovery, you're going to gain insight and understanding, and then you're going to be able to hear what you need to hear to now pivot yourself, pivot your family, and move into the next, and move into what now you must now do, regardless of age. Regardless of age, you're going to get up. You're going to be fine. We're going to pray for all of those that have been impacted by this plant, because even though it's 1,100 people, that's over probably 10,000 or 20,000 people or more will be impacted. A whole region will be impacted. Actually, far more than that, much more than that, will be impacted because of the connection to the economics, to the connection of families, to the infrastructure, to smaller towns like Riceboro and others that come far and near, the economies of this region. So there's so much happening here that's causing a disruption that can lead to a different, more difficult place. So we must pray, but also begin to be examples of resilience and recovery, and then help others be of good cheer. And this is your time to really be that. So I'm going to pause right there. There's so much more I would have loved to have talked to you about, but unfortunately, I have running out of time. I will do my best to do a part two if time permits within the next few days. If you would like to see a part two to this, please let me know and put in the comments below if you would like to do part two of this. In the meanwhile, while you're doing that, I want to show you something before I close out. Just be mindful here. This is me. And this is just, these are things that I'm doing. You can scan that code right there with your phone, and it'll take you to my site where I'm offering, starting September, I'm going to have a monthly community where I'll upload, doing master classes every month and uploading other materials. And it's only $97 per month, and you get hours worth of material that begins September 6th. And then also with that, you can scan this here. Let me show you this. And I'm also doing my 6-week leadership class, Leadership Academy Worldwide with Dr. Kenneth K. Law. Prepare for a time of leadership growth and discovery. It's a 6-week class that you can go on there that I will pour in different things, different topics, and things of that nature that you can take advantage of and grow with. So these things like this, but even the more so. And so I'm excited about those things that are what we do. You can scan it and go on there and you can look at it. You can sign up for the 97. It doesn't start till September. September 6th, and that's when the class is coming out. Also, that will be on a Saturday morning. That will be a lot more extensive in what we're doing. It will be for 6 weeks going from there. And even though, like I said, this is a free class, but if this has helped you and you desired and wanted to or even invest into this, like I said, this is free. But if you wanted to invest and this has been a blessing to you, you can go to my Cash App $ Dr. KK Law Leadership, DRKKLAW Leadership, $ DRKKLAW LEADERSHIP. And you can go, and if you want to, go from there. I will look into making sure I get the part 2 together real soon. Hopefully, since many of you have chimed in that you would like that, I would definitely do that and go from there. I'm trying to get my picture back here. All of this tech stuff really is a lot different for me. And but I'm excited about that. There we go. There he is. And so I thank you all for being on here. Like I said, you can type that in $ Dr. KK Law Leadership, DRKKLAW Leadership, LEADERSHIP. So, like I said, it's you're just investing today. If you want to give, if it's helpful, it bless you, please do so. It's still free. So but I just want to give you the option to do that. So I will let you know when we will be able to do this next one, which I may prepare for the following Saturday because there's so much more that I want to teach. I have multiple slides, but I was only able to get to maybe a very 15% of it, of more to what this is. So with that being said, I thank you for being on here. If you liked it, please, share before you go in the next few seconds. One thing that this has helped you with today, I can read it down here in the comments. And I know it's a slight delay, but just if you want to, just put a couple of things down here that you say this one thing that helped me today. So just take a moment to put that here before I sign off for the day and let you go on about your Saturday. And we'll go from there. So once again, thank you so much for being on here with me and for taking the time to be a part of this session, this class today for Kenneth K. Law. I will let you know you can follow me on Facebook. You can follow here on my YouTube channel. And you can follow me on the Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership private leadership group. You can go from there, and I can keep you updated with everything that is going on. Okay, so good stuff. Listen, God bless you today. I didn't see anybody in the comments just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and release you. And I thank you for taking the time to be on here. I thank you for taking the time to spend your Saturday morning with me and continue to build, continue to recover, continue to put your plans in place. You're going to be just fine. Okay, there we go. Loyalty is great. However, I need to learn how to be a little selfish, but in a positive way. Yes, it's okay to allocate time, loyalty, effort, study, and resources to your gift, to your ability while you're being faithful in another man's vision. It's okay to develop your garden. You don't have to use all of their stuff, but use what you have. And so, like I said, learning how to allocating loyalty and trust and developing what's in my heart and hands, the example of knowing when to pivot, um, pivoting. There you go. That's a big deal. That's a big deal for a lot of people because we are afraid to. So hopefully the next time I talk to you, we'll talk about more about change and transition and what does that look like for you. So without further ado, thank you all for spending this time with me. Please go and check out my page. Check out, I posted it on here. Let me let you scan it again real quick if you need to. There you go. Just go there and scan that, and it'll take you straight to my stand store, and you can see some recordings that I've put on there. You can sign up for the $97 a month um, community subscription. And also, you can sign up for the 6-week leadership class that's coming up on September 6th. All right. So, God bless you guys, and I love you. And thank you so much for spending this Saturday morning with me. Go forth and have a great day, and continue to lead well, and continue to be a blessing everywhere you go. Continue to make sure that your light is shining, and make sure you got a full recovery plan in, because things do happen, but you will not die in the failure. You're going to build on it, and you're going to grow, and you're going to bust through, and you're going to be amazing. So I believe in you, and I need you to believe in you, and go forth and do you, and prepare yourself for greater, because it's already in you. You just got to work it out. So God bless you. Talk to you soon, and have a great day. Bye bye.